Good day to everybody. Welcome back to the Formula Sports channel. Thanks for being here. In this video, we're speaking on the Reggae Girlz failed Gold Cup campaign. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Gold Cup campaign ended last night with a 1-1 draw versus Guatemala. We ended up finishing at the foot of the three-team table. Panama finished first, Guatemala finished second, we finished third. We went into the game needing a victory to finish second in the table so we could make it to the Gold Cup preliminary round, the prelims. However, we only got a draw in last night's encounter, and because of that, Guatemala goes to the prelims, and Panama, who topped the group, automatically qualifies for the inaugural CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup, right? I must say this, that I am upset that the Reggae Girlz have not made it to the inaugural CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup. This is a historical tournament. It is the very first staging of the tournament, and who's to tell the history that the Reggae Girlz could have made in this historical tournament had the A team played in this Gold Cup qualification round, because I think I can safely speak for most people. Most people are of the opinion that if this was the A team, they would have booked their spot in the Gold Cup. I am very upset that the team has not qualified for the inaugural Women's Gold Cup because of foolishness. Foolishness is why we have not qualified for the inaugural Women's Gold Cup, and it's very upsetting. The history that could have been made in this historical tournament is the very first tournament won, the very first staging of the Gold Cup, the Women's Gold Cup 1. 2, we would have gone into this tournament with one of the strongest teams on paper in the entire tournament, if not a top 2 favorite, at the very least a third favorite, to go all the way in this tournament. On paper, we're one of the strongest teams, would be one of the strongest teams in the tournament, because on paper, we're one of the strongest teams in CONCACAF, in women's football. Who's to tell what the girls could have done in this tournament? Right? It's such a historical tournament, and we'd not be a part of it. Also, we don't know what the Reggae Girlz team will look like come the next edition of the tournament. It could be stronger. It could also be weaker. This was a golden opportunity, a golden generation, a team on paper that was certainly good enough to have a realistic shot at winning this tournament, and will not be there. So I am very upset that because of foolishness, such an amazing opportunity has basically gone to waste from a Jamaica Reggae Girlz standpoint. As it pertains to last night's 1-1 draw with Guatemala, it was not a good performance, arguably the worst of the qualification round thus far from a Reggae Girlz standpoint. The overall game, but especially our play, was very scrappy and lacking in composure and lacking in accuracy in a number of aspects of gameplay, right? It was not a good performance from our Jamaica Reggae Girlz at all last night. Arguably the worst of the qualification round thus far. As it pertains to the entirety of the qualifiers, the girls have basically lacked winning edge. They have lacked the winning edge in the qualification round. The mere fact that 4 games were played, not one victory. And I've already spoken on the fact that, inexperience and a bunch of silly mistakes really and truly cost the B team from pulling off what many of us thought was really and truly not possible. Right? Well, from what the general sentiment that I've heard expressed by many people, including myself, didn't really give the B team much of a chance. Right? I'm still proud of these Crapper girls, though. They did well. They did far better than, and I'm speaking about throughout the entirety of the qualifiers, they did far better than many of us would have anticipated, far better than many of us could have imagined, even though in the end they fell short. And as a matter of fact, in the end, they got robbed. Last night, we were robbed because the penalty that we conceded in the 10th minute to go 1-0 down was a joke. The penalty we conceded in the Panama game was not a penalty, and the penalty we conceded last night was not a penalty. If VAR was in place last night, that there would certainly have been enough to have overturned that ridiculous decision. That referee stole that game from us last night, even though, to be fair, we really and truly never deserved to win the game because, to be fair, we were second best in the game. Yes, that's true. But in the end, even though the girls were second best last night, in the end, a robbery prevented them from winning the game. Because after we conceded, it was really and truly going to be a very uphill task, a mountainous task for those girls to climb. They needed to have scored 2 goals, and 2 goals is easier said than done, right? Spoke about the silly mistakes, spoke about the inexperience. I talked to the CM center back there. She gave away the penalty in the second to last game versus Panama. She gave away a penalty, like literally the same exact type of play. Like it was like deja vu in last night's game. It was crazy. The same exact type of play. She caused the penalty. Spoke to her, even though it was not a penalty. I talked to her in the last video and I tell her, I said, my girl, you cannot go to ground in the box like that unnecessarily, especially with no VAR in place. I've seen referees give those. I've seen referees not give those. Even though I don't even think she even touched her. But if you're going to ground in the penalty box, it has to be an extremely necessary tackle. Can't go to ground like that in the penalty box unless you have to make that tackle. And given the respective variables at play surrounding that particular play, she never needed to go to ground. Right? But, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. But I'm still proud of the girls, though. They did, throughout the entirety of the qualifiers, they did better than most would have expected them to do. I'm still proud of them, right? In last night's game, we saw, for the most part, in my humble opinion, a midfield battle. I thought, well, it's obvious Guatemala won that, and for most of the game, Guatemala was the more threatening team. I thought scrappy play was a major reason for the poor performance from the Reggae Girlz. Especially from a passing standpoint. The passing was very bad in last night's game, especially the passes from midfield into the forwards, was a major reason why a lot of our plays would have broken down, a major reason for that. So, it was just not the best game from our Jamaica Reggae Girlz last night. I think playing on the road as well was an issue. It's a young team, inexperienced team, so these are things that these players are going to have to learn throughout these scenarios. And I think they were a bit rattled. They weren't settled on the road. They didn't seem settled. They seemed to have been lacking in composure for most of the game. As I stated earlier, Guatemala took the lead in the 10th minute through a penalty that was really and truly highway robbery, and the Reggae Girlz equalized Martinez for Guatemala got they scored the penalty, and then Richards, scored in the 66th minute for us to equalize. Unfortunately, the girls could not find a winner. By the way, I was kind of more screaming at the television for Richards to get sub, Like literally, as soon as I scream at the TV for the screen for Richards to get sub, she pop up with the goal. Anyway, so the game ended 1-1. With that being said, let me give you guys the starting 11 for the Reggae Girlz. For those who missed it, Mensah in goal. The defenders, Butts, Reed, and Burnett. The midfielders, Buckley. On the right, Groves, Asher. The pivots and Days on the left. And then the forward line was the other Days sister, Johnson through the middle, and Richards on the other side. that was the starting 11. And the substitutes, I think the coach would have heard the criticisms about the delayed substitutions, how long it's taking to make substitutions. Butts came off, McFadden came on for right at halftime, Foster came in the 78th minute and Buckley came out in the 78th minute to replace Buckley. Walker came in and Days came out. The attacking Days came out in the 87th minute. And in the 90th minute, Street came in and Johnson went out, right? Very disappointing that the Reggae Girlz have failed to get to the inaugural CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup. Very upsetting, very unfortunate, right? But credit to this B team, man. They did very well. Very well. Very well. Far better than most would have anticipated them to do, even though in the end they fell just short. But we wish them all the best going forward. And hopefully we don't have a recurrence of this where a major tournament is missed because of foolishness. Let me end this video before I get into another rant. Knock up the likes button, subscribe and share. Free and easy ways to support the Formula Sports channel. Take care, guys. Stay safe. And until next time.